Welcome back. At Indiana University, students living in university housing are required to be tested weekly for the coronavirus. Meanwhile, here at KU, there are no such requirements in the dorms. I'm joined by Indiana University freshman Parth Shah to debate whether or not students living in university housing should be tested weekly for the coronavirus. Parth, thank you for joining us.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me.
So, first off, do you mind talking a little bit about what the protocol is in the dorms at Indiana University?
Yeah, so basically, we are required to get tested weekly, like you said. We basically get sent an email, and then we just choose whatever time we want to get tested at. And then basically after that, if we test positive, we are required to list some names that we spent some time with. So that's considered contact tracing. And then we are sent directly to our quarantine dorm, or we have to go home or pick a hotel. And this has to be done in a very fast process because they don't want the virus to spread. So they give you like 2 to 3 hours to choose what you want to do and where you want to go. And after that, they usually just pick you up in their white minivan and they send you to Ashton, which is our quarantine dorm. And that's where we have to spend at least 10 to 14 days. It depends on, I think, if you have symptoms or not.
And how do you feel that this protocol has been effective? Do you think that it's worked so far, or do you think that there needs to be changes?
I think compared to other schools so far, I think Indiana has done a pretty great job with dealing with the coronavirus. I mean, it is a pretty big college campus, so you're going to have campus regardless. I mean, cases regardless where you go. That's something that's always going to be there. But since the way it's been going so far, I wouldn't say it's been going too bad. I think you can always do better, but I wouldn't complain.
Well, obviously, as I mentioned, here at the University of Kansas, students in the dorms are not required to be tested at all.
Hmm.
Uh, I would defend this stance because all KU students, if they have in person classes, are required to be tested before the start of classes. And I feel that it would be a waste of resources and it would just be downright redundant to have students in university housing be tested again for living in the dorms when they're already being tested to go to in-person classes. Uh, do you think that it's redundant in a way to have students be tested in the dorms and to go to class?
I don't actually. I think a lot of students visit back home a lot. We have a lot of kids from Indiana here who like to go back home during the weekends where they can catch the virus. A lot of seniors can go to bars. People go to frat houses. They go to parties, and you're seeing random people throughout the day. Which at this point, the way the virus is going, you're more than likely to contract the virus. In Indiana, the cases are going up every day. I think it's currently eighth or seventh. I was looking it up before we started, the cases rising. So with the cases going up almost every day, I think students have to get tested weekly. If we get positive cases, that spreads super rapidly, and just because of how big our student body is. I'm pretty sure can you guys can relate to that as well. You guys have a pretty big student body there too. If someone tests positive, you're more than likely to get a lot more positive tests, and it's just a way to keep people safe. Like I said, we're a pretty big town just out of college. We have more than college students here. If you go to restaurants, bars, you're more than likely to meet other people, and you're gonna get other people sick, which is definitely not what we're trying to do, especially with how the cases have been going up.
Well, this debate's live on Sided, so be sure, if you're watching this now, to get on Sided and put up your arguments. But now, Parth, I want to transition a little bit to talk about the dining halls because I
Okay.
know that you've mentioned to me previously that dining at Indiana University is only carry out. You might talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that because I know KU has a different stance.
Yeah, so basically for us, we order through Grubhub. I guess our university is partnered with Grubhub, so we can see every single one of our dining halls and just order whatever we want to from there. Basically, you get a bunch of options, and you order. You leave it out on the table with your name on there, and you just grab and go. There's no going inside the cafeteria and ordering. I think it's just to minimize contact and the spread of the virus. Basically, how do you guys have it there at Kansas?
Now, from a social perspective, how do you
Yeah.
think that this has had an impact on you and really all of the freshmen? Because I know that coming in freshman year, you don't really not know a lot of people.
Yeah.
So has all of these have all of these protocols had an impact on you socially, and has it had an impact on all the freshmen?
I wouldn't say it has an impact on me personally. Personally, I've been able to make a lot more friends here. I think our my floor itself is more connected because of that reason. Because we know we're not able to, go out as much or basically break protocol as much. So, we became pretty close. But I feel like a lot more other freshmen have had a difficult time just because of how hard it can be to, meet people because it's basically a lot less people per room. You got social distance, you got to keep your masks on, and then you have to also get tested. So you don't want to test positive, or else you'll get sent to a quarantine dorm, which you don't want to be there. It sucks. It's actually terrible down there.
And I know that we've talked about weekly testing, we've talked about the
hmm
dining halls. Overall, one last time, tell the people why weekly testing is necessary for students living in on-campus housing. What is your pitch?
I'd say it's necessary just because of how much this virus spreads. Like I mentioned before, a lot of people go home. A lot of people go to different places where you're going to meet different people. The virus is pretty easy to spread. You might not be wearing your mask the whole entire time when you're out at a party or you're out at a restaurant, and you're more than likely to contract the virus. And because of that reason, if you catch the virus and you meet more people here on campus, the virus is going to spread through campus, which is something you definitely don't want. And I feel like IU's done a pretty decent job at trying to control the virus compared to especially other campuses, especially down south.
Now, once again, I'm going to argue I don't think that weekly testing is necessary. I think it would be a waste of resources personally at KU. I can't speak for Indiana University, but I think that when students are tested before classes begin, that's all that's needed to be done. And if students start developing symptoms, they should go and get tested immediately. But in the meantime, I think that weekly testing in the dorms at KU would be a waste of resources because you're already being tested. You're already being tested to go to class, and we shouldn't be wasting it on all of the students when we should be selective with our resources, testing the students that are symptomatic. Now, Parth, I want to thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
That's
having
all
me.
the time that we have today. Remember to get unsided, post your debates and arguments, and climb up that leaderboard for your chance to take home a $25 Amazon gift card. For all of us here at Take a Side, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.